Hi everyone, Nicole Bowman here, psychic, medium, and intuitive artist. So I'm coming to you with a video. I don't know how long this is going to be. It might be long, it might be quick. But I want to share something. I want to put some food for thought into the conversation. So, as many of you may know on this app, there has been a lot of talk about closed spiritual practices, specifically closed spiritual practices within African traditionalist religions. So, practices such as Lukumi, Santeria, Ifa, Voodoo, Palomayombe. These are practices where initiation, prayer, ritual, and divination is necessary in order to even determine if that path is for you. And I don't know how many of you were around in 2015 or 16, but about 10 years ago, we had the witch wars of 2015 or 16, where a very similar thing was going on, where people were arguing about closed practices and who gets to be initiated and who gets access and who gets to communicate with spirit. I want to make this very, very clear as a psychic medium and intuitive. I am not an initiate of a closed practice. So what I'm sharing with you is not my personal opinion, view, or belief. It is what initiates within closed practice have shared with me and have shared with others. In order to be initiated into one of these paths, divination needs to be done, prayer and ritual needs to be done, study needs to be done. Being initiated into this path is not just about the individual. It's not just about what one individual person wants to feel, do, or experience. You have to understand that African traditions, religions especially, are not just about the individual, but they are about the community. They are about the community. Your initiation, your process, your progress, many of the ceremonies require an entire community to be a part of it. And you also have to understand that within a community, there is also accountability. Within community, there are spiritual teachers and godparents and a community undergirding you to live out your soul's purpose. If you are initiated into one of these paths, it is because your soul requires it in this lifetime. And your soul may require it for a plethora of different reasons. You know, many, many years ago, it's like well over a decade ago at this point, I can remember when I was living in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I was looking at African traditionalist paths. And I was wondering and considering if that was a part of my soul's journey. And Spirit made it very, very clear to me at that time in my life that it was not. And I'm not going to go into all the details of why or how, but it was very clear to me that from my perspective, I was to remain a solitary practitioner because that is what my soul needed. And that is where I could be most effective for my community versus being part of a specific religion. You have to remember as well, African traditionalist religions are religions, not unlike Christianity or Islam or Buddhism or Hinduism. They are religions. They are religions with systems and rules and protocol and regulations and things that you need to do to not just grow and evolve as an individual soul, but also grow and evolve your community and the collective. And I think that that's the point a lot of people are missing. They're getting caught up in the vanity and the glamour and the idea of being a priest or a priestess within a particular religion. And you're not understanding that to walk that path, you are meant to serve. You are meant to serve. And that's going over a lot of different people's heads. A lot of different people's heads. But I will say this, whether it is an organized religion such as Christianity or Hinduism or Sikhism, whether it is an African traditionalist path, which is also an organized religion, whether it is walking as a spiritual worker and walking a solitary path, whatever path you choose, there is still a divine being and divine energy you work with and you answer to. And especially when you are called to do spiritual work, it's not just about your own soul's growth and evolution. It is about what you will do for the community and how you will serve the community. And this is why it's really important to not look at initiations as just collecting something like you're collecting Pokemon cards or baseball cards or what have you. This is bigger than the individual. This is about healing and helping a community. This is about, through knowing and understand your soul's purpose, you then are able to help others realize theirs. If your soul needs the ATRs, they will find you. And if your soul doesn't, the spirits won't find you and they won't speak your name. I can say this as a psychic medium and as a person who has been sensitive my entire life. I didn't consciously plan to do readings for people. I was on what I thought was a completely different path than that. And well over a decade ago, Spirit came to me and said, with everything you've learned and everything you know, now it's time to start sharing that information with other people. And I was reluctant to do that initially. But over time, it became very clear that that's what I was called to do. I often find that the people that are called to a particular path, whatever that might look like, they usually tend to be pretty reluctant to do it, at least at first. They're not always super enthusiastic to do it. But with time, through signs and signals and information and prayers, they begin to see, oh no, this is my path and I must walk this. So I just want people to understand that, there are a lot of mysteries in different paths that you won't really understand unless you're initiated into it. And there's a lot of really basic rules and regulations that if you're not a part of the path, or if you haven't at least studied it, or you don't have colleagues in the path, there's things that are going to go over your head. I don't want to speak too heavily on Ifa or Lukumi or Voodoo because I'm not initiated into that. But I will just simply say, specifically as it relates to communicating with the Orisha, there are systems and practices in place. There's divination systems in place through which the Orisha speak and through which they tell the future. And I know that people want to like tussle with this, but they don't do it through tarot cards. And they don't do it through playing cards. There are systems in place for a reason. And in fact, believe it or not, once you are initiated and you learn those systems, you don't really have to be psychic at all in order to read what's in front of you. It helps, but you don't have to be. So, for my colleagues who are initiates, I hope I'm not overstepping by saying this. I mean, no disrespect or anything. I just felt it's important to maybe share this perspective with people that initiations are not just about you, the individual. They are about the community, and they are about the community and the spirit you will serve. It's not just your individual growth, but it's the growth of all. Ashe.